It's always a pleasure to have you all here for this fourth session of our Talk and Learning Discord series. My name is Yusuf, guys. I'm a Web3 expert and I'm your host for today's session. So during this series, we already animated 3 insightful sessions, starting from how to build your first Web3 project, then covering Web3 trends and vision, and finally showing you how to stand out in Web3. Today's session is titled Designing a Simple Web3 Product, and we are going to focus on the bridge between a cool idea and a concrete product concept. This is where the magic happens and where we stop being just enthusiasts and start becoming builders. So let's get to work, guys. What do we have for today? Before we dive into mechanics, let's take a look on what we aim to achieve. By the time we wrap up this session, every single one of you should have the blueprint for a mini product concept. That is ready to be submitted for our upcoming competition. We aren't just here to listen, we are here to produce. So we are going to move step by step from a raw, unpolished idea to a structured, presentable concept. First, you will learn how to identify and describe your ideal user in specific terms. Second, we'll use the Moscow framework to prioritize your features so you don't get lost in scope creep. Third, we'll touch on how to visualize that product using tools like Figma or Notion. And finally, we'll analyze real Web3 MVPs like DeFi swaps and DAO voting to understand why they actually worked. Okay, now let's start by talking about the why. If you look at this slide, you see a statistic that should keep every founder awake at night. 92% of blockchain startups fail within their first 18 months. When you look under the hood of those failures, the reason is almost never bad technology. It's because they solved a problem that nobody actually had. In Web3, we have a bad habit of building technology first. We create a token, we deploy a smart contract, and then we sit around wondering why nobody is using it. That is the problem box on your left. To be in the solution box, on the right, you must start with the real person, with the real problem. User-first design is the only thing that leads to high adoption and better retention. We want to build products that people actually want to pay for, not just things that look good on a white paper, guys. Moving on to the next slide, we need to get comfortable with the idea that your target user is not everyone. In fact, the narrower your focus is at the start, the more powerful your product will become. You need to be able to answer 4 critical questions with absolute clarity. First, who are they? Don't just say crypto users, give me a profession, an age range, and daily habits. Second, what is their pain? What is frustrating them? What is costing them time or money? Third, where are they? Geography matters, guys, immensely in Web3 because of regulations, payment rails, and language barriers. And fourth, what is their comfort level? Are they a crypto native who knows how to bridge assets or totally beginner who gets scared by a seed phrase? This answer alone determines how complex your user experience needs to be. On slide 5, we see this put into practice with a persona named Amina. So she isn't a user. She's a 28-year-old freelance graphic designer in Nairobi. Her pain is specific. She loses 8 to 12% of her income every time she gets paid via PayPal or traditional bank wires. Her goal is simple: receive payments faster with lower fees. Because she is new to crypto but uses a smartphone daily. We know we can't overwhelm her with a jargon. Her quote, "I just want to get paid without losing so much," becomes the North Star for the entire product. On the right side of the slide, you see a template. I want you to start thinking about your own version of Amina. If you can describe your user this clearly, you aren't ready to build yet. So I'll let you few moments to check this slide. You can take, of course, screenshots, and by the end of the session, I'll make sure to send you the link, okay? Now moving on to slide 6, which is our warning slide. These are the traps I've seen kill countless projects over the last decade, okay? The biggest mistake is thinking broad targeting equals a better product. It doesn't. It just leads to a generic product that nobody cares about. Another trap is assuming users will figure it out. They won't. Complex UX drives away 90% of your potential market. You also have to watch out for builder bias, where you assume everyone thinks like you do. Just because you think a certain blockchain feature is cool doesn't mean it solves a problem for a freelancer in Africa or a gamer in Asia. You must talk at least 10 real potential users before you write a single line of code. Build with your users, not just for them, okay? Now we move on. We move into second part, building your MVP. So MVP means minimum viable product. Look at the numbers on the slide. 70% of the startups failed because of premature scaling, trying to do too much too soon. An MVP is the simplest version of your product that still delivers real value. It is not a demo or a mockup, it is a functional tool with a clear purpose. For your first Web3 MVP, the ideal timeline is just 2 to 4 weeks. If it takes longer than that, you've overcomplicated it. You should be aiming for a maximum of 3 to 5 core features. Anything more than that is just a distraction that prevents you from getting the real-world feedback you need to survive. Now slide 8 helps us to draw a hard line in the sand, okay? An MVP is one core problem solved exceptionally well. It must be usable by real people, and it must be built to collect feedback fast. It is the foundation you will iterate on. Conversely, look at the is not list line, okay? So what can we see? An MVP is not a platform with every idea you've ever had. It is not a white paper or a pitch deck with no code. And most importantly, guys, in our industry, it is not a token launch with no actual product behind it. If it makes 6 months to build, it is not an MVP. It's a full-scale release, and that is a very risky way to launch in Web3. Now, to help you stay disciplined, we use the Moscow framework shown on the slide. This is the industry standard for deciding what makes the cut for version. So M stands for must have. The product literally doesn't work without this. S is should have, important but users can find a workaround for now. C is could have. These are nice to have that delight users but aren't really necessary. And W is won't have. These are features you explicitly keep out of version 1. To prevent scope creep, you put them on the roadmap for version 2 or version 3. If it isn't a must, it's really a distraction for your MVP, guys. Okay, now let's take a look at an example on this slide. Imagine we are building that payment app for Amina. Our must-haves are simple: Wallet Connect and the ability to send and receive tokens. Without those, there's no app. We include transaction history, as should have, because users need to verify payments. But look at what we cut: multi-chain support, DeFi integration, and an NFT marketplace. These are all interesting, but they need massive complexity and are unrelated to Amina's core problem of getting paid. By sticking to just 3 features, as you can see, we can build a high-quality product in weeks rather than months. Remember the rule of thumb at the bottom. If your MVP has more than 5 features, you are building too much. Cut ruthlessly and ship fast, guys. Now we've reached one of the most critical moments in this entire session. And honestly, one of the most important conversations you'll have as a Web3 builder. Before we talk about tools, we talk about wireframes. Before we even think about smart contracts and token standards, we need to ask ourselves a brutally honest question. Does your product actually need Web3? I know that might sound strange coming from a blockchain educator, but hear me out. Because this question separates serious builders from people who are just chasing hype, the blockchain space is full of products that added Web3 elements not because it solved a real problem, but because it sounded cool, guys. Because investors were excited about it, or because the founders wanted to be part of the movement. Those products almost universally fail. They are harder to build, they are harder for users to understand, they create unnecessary friction in the user experience, and they are nearly impossible to explain to people outside of the crypto bubble. So, we have 5 diagnostic questions, and I want you to take this seriously. Go through each one and answer yes or no for your specific product idea. The first question is, do users need to trust each other without a middleman? Think about peer-to-peer transactions, 2 strangers exchanging value, entering into agreements, or conducting escrow without needing a bank or a lawyer, or even a platform to hold the funds in the middle. If your product is about enabling that kind of trustless interaction between parties who don't know each other, then smart contracts are genuinely the right tool. They replace the intermediary with code that executes automatically and transparently. The second question: does ownership of a digital asset matter? Are your users dealing with certificates, event tickets, digital collectibles, in-game items, or any kind of asset where provable transferable ownership is essential? If yes, NFTs and tokens on a blockchain give you that in a way that a traditional database simply cannot. A database record can be changed by whoever controls the server. An NFT on a public blockchain cannot be altered, and ownership is cryptographically verifiable by anyone in the world. Now, third question: do users need transparent auditable records? Supply chains, voting systems, public financial records, anywhere that trust depends on the public being able to verify what happened and when. On-chain data is immutable and public by default. No single entity can go back and change the records. That's a genuinely powerful property that Web3 provides and traditional systems cannot. Now, fourth question for you: do users need to control their own data and identity? This is the self-sovereign identity question. In Web 2, your identity is owned by Google, Facebook, Amazon, or whatever platform you're using. They can delete your account, they can sell your data, or lock you out. Decentralized identity puts the user in control of their own credentials, and that's a fundamentally different paradigm. One that has real value for privacy sensitive applications. Now, fifth question, are cross-border payments a core need? Think about remittances, freelancer payments across borders, international commerce. Traditional banking is today really slow, expensive, and excludes billions of people who don't have access to financial infrastructure. Crypto enables borderless, near instant transactions with minimal fees. If your product is serving users who need to move money across borders, that's a genuine Web3 use case. Now, here's the scoring guide, and it's simple. If you answered yes to two or more of these questions, Web3 adds real demonstrable value to your product. Build it on the blockchain with confidence, but if you only answered yes to 0 or 1 of those questions, please stop and seriously consider whether a traditional application would serve your users better, launch faster, and be easier to maintain, okay? You gotta be honest with yourselves. There is absolutely no shame in building a great Web2 product. The shame is in making your users suffer through wallet connections and gas fees for a problem that a simple database could solve perfectly well. So keep these 5 questions close, refer back to them whenever you are tempted to add a blockchain feature just because you can. So I'm gonna make a quick pause here before keep diving in the presentation, and I want to hear what do you think about these 5 questions, or if you have any question regarding this session, okay? So until now, is everything clear, guys? What do you think? Do you think like your project does really need to be a Web3 project or not? I want to see some interactions before keep going into this presentation, okay? I'm seeing already that someone is writing. That's great. Well, thank you for the fire, Godswill. I hope that you're enjoying the session, sir. Okay, when it comes to privacy and tamper-proof technology, you also need to answer those 5 questions, okay? Not every project that needs privacy needs to be a Web3 project. Okay, Maidara? I hope this sounds clear for you. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, sure. Anyone wants to get in stage now before we keep diving into the presentation, he's welcome. Sure thing. Yeah. Hello, Maidara, can you hear us?
Can you hear me, guys? Hello.
Yes, we can. How are you doing?
Hi, how are you doing, guys?
Great.
Good. I'm Van Kerim. And
Ramadan Kareem.
thank you. And I would like to ask a question about this project. I have this startup idea in my head, and right now I'm validating the idea. And I've built a proof of concept around blockchain using Hyperledger. So the main focus is to have like PDF documents signed electronically, and then I need to hash those files and store the hash on the blockchain, and then validate those files with QR code and links. So I've used Hyperledger, but the main issue is that Hyperledger, I own the server that runs the nodes. So if I need like everybody else to check the integrity of the data and help me maintain this blockchain, which technology shall I use, or can I have? Does Hyperledger have another way to make it public, but not really public? Like the data should be private, but at least the hash would be public.
Okay, that's really interesting. So you told me that you have built a proof of concept for about blockchain. So you hash the files, you validate them through QR codes and links, and for that you have used Hyperledger. But we all know that Hyperledger is a private blockchain, so unfortunately, you're now looking on something else, or you want to just find a way how Hyperledger can make the hashes public. Am I right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so if the question is, can Hyperledger Fabric make it public? Short answer is not in the way you are thinking, okay? Because as we all know, Hyperledger Fabric is a permissioned blockchain by design, okay? So access is restricted, users need a digital certificate. The infrastructure is unfortunately private for you, so and the everyone problem is that you cannot simply give a URL to a random person on the street and have them verify a hash directly, okay? So there's maybe the bridge solution by keeping Hyperledger. So if you want to keep your current Hyperledger build, you must build a public gateway, okay? So if I'm gonna tell you how it works, you create a web application, an API that sits in front of Hyperledger. Then you add a verification flow. For example, the user scans the QR code, which contains a link to your web app or to a file ID. The web app receives the request and uses an admin identity to query the Hyperledger fabric. And the app returns the verification result. For example, it can be a file valid, hashed on, I don't know, a date, for example, like today, February 19th. So, but the downside of it is that the public has to trust you, okay? They aren't checking the blockchain themselves. They are checking your website, which is checking the blockchain.
Okay.
Now, if you want to change completely from Hyperledger, you can use just a public blockchain, okay? You can use like Ethereum, Polygon. You can also use Hashgraph, but Hashgraph is public permissioned, okay? It's not public permissionless. And you can also use layer 2s like Base, Arbitrum. So the good thing about layer 2s is that they are offering very low fees, okay?
Okay, yeah. That's good.
Does it sound clear for you or not?
Yeah.
Okay. If you have any other question, don't hesitate. Or if I was like explaining a bit fast, you can tell me. Yeah? But
No,
I hope
I
it was
recorded.
clear enough
Yeah, I
yourself.
recorded this, so I can iterate on it later on.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you for answering.
Yeah, sure. Okay, guys. So let's take the other questions later. And let's go back to our presentation now. Okay, so as I said, these are the 5 diagnostic questions that you need to ask yourself honestly if you want to know that if your product really needs Web3 or not, okay? So now let's move on. Now that we've established whether Web3 is the right fit, we're gonna move on to another part, and it's here where things start to really get exciting, guys, and I'll let you know why. Because we're not talking about making your idea real. Not real in code, of course, but real in the sense that other people can see, touch it, interact with it, and give you a feedback on it. So here's the truth that every experienced product builder knows, and that most beginners learn the hard way. An idea that only exists in your head is worth almost nothing, okay? So you might think your concept is crystal clear, but the moment you try to describe it to a teammate, a potential user, or even an investor, you discover that the picture in your head is completely different from what they are imagining. This communication gap kills projects before they even start. So the solution here is visualization. You need to externalize your idea, get it out of your head, and into a form that other people can engage with. And for that, every Web3 product builder needs to master 3 essential tools that you can see here in the slide. The first one is Figma, the industry standard design tool used by professional product teams all over the world. Figma is where you create the actual interfaces your users will see and interact with. For Web3, this is especially important because your users will encounter flows that are completely unfamiliar with. Wallet connection screens, transaction confirmation dialogues, gas fee displays, and you need to design this carefully to avoid confusion and abandonment. The second tool is Notion, which serves as your product documentation app. Think of it as your team's shared brain. Everything that needs to be written down about your product, the problem you're solving, the features you're building, the technical decision you've made, lives in Notion, organized and accessible to everyone on your team. The third and final tool is flowcharts, using like draw.io. So flowchart let you map out the user journey from start to finish, the system architecture, and critically for Web3, the smart contract interaction flows. Before you write a single line of your Solidity or JavaScript code, you should be able to draw exactly what happens when a user initiates a transaction. So these 3 tools work together. Notion gives you the what and why. Flowchart gives you how it flows. Figma gives you what it looks like. Use all 3 and you'll build faster and with far fewer costly mistakes, okay? Now guys, let's spend some more time on Figma because this tool is genuinely transformative for product development and I want you to feel confident using it. So, Figma is a free browser-based design tool. You don't need to install anything, you don't need a powerful computer, and you can collaborate with your entire team in real time, just like you would on a Google Doc, for example. Professional product teams at companies like Airbnb, Spotify, and every major blockchain project use Figma to design their products. And the good news is that for up to 3 projects, it's completely free. More than enough to build and iterate your MVP. Now, why Figma is particularly essential for Web3 products specifically? Because Web3 apps have unique UX challenges that don't exist in traditional applications. When a user opens a regular mobile app, they know what to expect. They log in with an email, a password, they see a familiar interface, and they take action they've done 100 times before. But when they open a decentralized application for the first time, they are confronted with concepts and flow they never encountered. Connect your wallet, what does that mean? A MetaMask pop-up appears, what I'm agreeing to, transactions need to be signed, is this safe? These are really moments of friction and confusion are where users abandon your product, okay? Figma lets you design these flows, test them with real users before you build, and iterate quickly without spending weeks on code that might need to be thrown away. So, these are hundreds of free Web3 UI kits in the Figma community. Pre-made design components specifically for blockchain applications, wallet buttons, token displays, transaction cards, NFT galleries. You don't need to design these from scratch. You can pull them into your project, customize them, and have a professional looking prototype in hours rather than days, okay? So, which screens should your wireframe use first? I recommend this exact order for every Web3 product. Start with the landing page. You have literally 5 seconds to explain what your product does and why someone should care. If visitors don't understand the value proposition in 5 seconds, they leave, okay? Get the screen right first. Second, wireframe the wallet connection, the wallet connect screen. This is your onboarding and authentication flow. It replaces the traditional login page and it needs to be designed to feel safe, simple, and trustworthy. Many Web3 products lose users right here because the wallet connection experience is confusing. Third wireframe, the core action screen. This is one of the main things your user can to your product do. For a token swap app, it's a swap interface. For an NFT certificate platform, it's a certificate viewing screen. Everything in your product should be optimized around making this one action as simple and satisfying as possible. Fourth, the confirmation screen. After a user initiates a blockchain transaction, they need immediate, clear feedback about whether it succeeded or failed. Did the swap go through? Did the certificate get minted? A clear success confirmation builds trust. A confusing or absent confirmation destroys it. And fifth, the dashboard. The overview screen that shows the user their activity, their asset, their status. This is what they return to after completing the core action, and it should give them a clear picture of everything relevant to them. So start with these 5 screens. You don't need 30 screens for your MVP. You need these 5 to be excellent, okay? Now let's talk about Notion and flowcharts, because these two tools address a different but equally important side of product development: the written documentation and the logical architecture for your product. Notion is what I like to call your product Bible. Every successful product has a single source of truth, one place where all the important decisions, specifications, and plans are written down and kept up to date. Without this, teams fall apart. Different people have different understandings of what's being built. Features get implemented in conflicting ways. New team members have no way to get up to speed. Clients or investors ask questions and nobody give them a clear answer. Notion solves all of this by being the central hub where everything lives. For your Web3 product, I recommend creating 4 essential pages in Notion. The first one is your product overview. This is a single page that contains your one-liner description, a clear statement of what your problem you're solving, your solution approach, a detailed description of your target user persona, and a unique value proposition. If someone reads only this one page, They should have a complete understanding of what your product is and why it exists. The second page is your feature backlog. This is a living list of every feature you're planning to build, organized using the Moscow framework that we covered earlier in the session. Every feature should have status, to do, in progress, or done. And it should be clear at any moment exactly what the team is working on and what's coming next. This page becomes your project management hub. Third is user stories. For every feature in your backlog, write a corresponding user story in the format as a specific user, I want to take action so that I achieve this benefit. This format forces you to think about every feature from the user's perspective rather than developer's perspective. Okay? It keeps your team focused on outcomes rather than outputs. And fourth, your tech architecture page. This is where you document all of your technical decisions, which blockchain you're building on, and why, what smart contract standards you're using, what your front-end stack is, which APIs and third-party services you're integrating, and what your infrastructure looks like. For Web3, this page is especially important because the technical choices you make early, so like choosing between Ethereum, Hedera, or Solana, have massive implications for everything that follows, okay? Now let's talk about flowcharts. A flowchart does something that neither Figma nor Notion can do on its own. It shows you a complete logical journey from the user's first moment of interaction to the final outcome, including all the decision points and all the system interactions and all the blockchain transactions that happen along the way. The standard Web3 journey flows like the user visits your dApp, they arrive at the landing page, then they connect their wallet. They authenticate themselves on chain, then they take the core action, wherever the central purpose of your product is. Then they sign the transaction, they approve the blockchain transaction in their wallet, and finally they see the confirmation, the on-chain result of their action, okay? Mapping this flow before you build is not optional, guys. It's really essential because it's not only when you draw it out that you see all the edge cases. What happens if the user rejects the transaction in their wallet? What happens if the network is congested and the transaction takes too long? What if the user doesn't have enough tokens to cover gas fees? Every one of these branches needs to be designed and handled, and you can only see them when you map the full flow, okay? Now, we've covered the theory. We've covered the tools, the three essential tools, and now we arrive at a very critical part, okay? Which is my favorite section of this entire session. Because we are going to look at real examples. And I always say that the fastest way to develop product intuition is to study products that have actually been built and launched. The best products designers in the world are based on existing products, okay? They use competitors' apps obsessively. They take screenshots of flow they love and flow they hate. They ask why every design decision was made, and then they apply to those lessons to their own work. We're going to examine different Web3 MVPs across three different domains, which are DeFi, education, and governance, okay? So these are real product archetypes that have been launched, used, and iterated on the Web3 space. Each one represents a genuine problem solved with a minimum viable feature set. Each one started narrow and small and grew from there. The first is Token Swap app. A beginner-friendly decentralized exchange that strips away complexity and lets users swap two tokens with one single click. This is a DeFi product. The second is an NFT certificate platform, a system that allows universities and training centers to issue tamper-proof, verifiable certificate as NFTs on chain. This is a token gated governance system where community decisions are made on chain and every vote is publicly verifiable. This is a governance product, okay? Now let's talk about the token swap decentralized application. It is designed to solve a very specific problem for every specific person. And I want you to notice how precise the product definition is, because this precision is what makes it buildable as an MVP. The target user is a crypto beginner in Kenya or Nigeria who wants to swap USDC. For those who don't know, USDC is a stable coin they might receive from a client or an exchange into a local token they can actually use in their daily financial life. Notice how specific that is. Not crypto users, not people in Africa, a specific type of person in specific countries with specific transaction they want to complete. This level of specificity is what enables you to make the right decisions. Okay. The core pain is that existing decentralized exchanges platforms like Uniswap or PancakeSwap are complex for a beginner. They show you dozens of token options. They ask you to configure slippage tolerance. They display jargon like liquidity pools and price impact that means nothing to someone who just wants to swap their money. The result is that the user gets confused, makes mistakes, or just gives up and doesn't use the product. The solution is simplicity, guys. One-click swap with just two tokens pre-selected, a clean mobile-first interface, because in these markets, most users are on mobile, not desktop, not technical jargon anywhere on the screen. If you can use a money transfer app, you can use this app, okay? Why Web3 now? Because decentralized exchanges offer trustless exchange with no intermediary fees and transparent on-chain pricing. A traditional centralized exchange takes custody of your funds, shares hidden fees, and can freeze your account. A decentralized exchange gives you direct wallet-to-wallet swapping with fee transparency and no custodial risk. Okay, that passes the diagnostic test clearly. And the MVP features just 5 of them. First, connect wallet via MetaMask or Wallet Connect. This is the authentication, this is the identity, and without it, nothing else works. Second, select a pair of token from a dropdown, but notice in the MVP you probably only offer 2 or 3 curated pairs, not the entire universe tokens. Third, enter an amount and see a live code. Price transparency is non-negotiable because users will not execute a transaction if they don't know how they are getting, okay? Fourth, one-click swap execution, the core action, the reason the product exists must be simple as physically possible, guys, okay? And fifth, a transaction receipt with a hash link so the user can verify on a block explorer that their transaction went through. This is a should-have feature, but it's critically important for building trust with beginner users who will worry that their money has disappeared. 5 features, nothing more, everything else, price charts, portfolio tracking, advanced order types, multi-chain support, all of that comes later, guys. After you've proven that people want to use the product, the core product, okay? Now, let's talk about the second example. and it's one of the most immediately impactful applications of blockchain technology for the African context. And I say with a complete conviction. Certificate fraud is massive, a documented problem across many markets. Employers regularly receive fake degrees and professional certifications. Verification is slow, manual, and expensive. Universities don't have a centralized verification system that work across borders. And the people who suffer most are the honest graduates whose legitimate credentials are devaluated because the market can't easily distinguish them from fakes. The NFT certificate platform solves this elegantly and permanently. The target user is not the graduate, but here it's the institution. Universities, coding bootcamps, professional certification bodies, these are the organizations that currently issue paper or PDF certificates. And they are the ones with the authority and the motivation to move to a blockchain based system. The core pain is straightforward. Paper certificates are easy to fake, and verification is slow, manual process, often what requires contacting the issuing institution directly, waiting days for a response, and paying fees. In a global hiring market where someone might apply for a job from the other side of the world, this process simply doesn't scale. So the solution here is clear: to issue tamper-proof certificates as NFTs on chain with a public verification URL that anyone, an employer, a regulator, a partner institution can use to verify a user certificate's authenticity in seconds from anywhere in this world, okay, at any time and for free. So notice that the student-facing wallet app is not in this MVP. The employer verification portal is not a complex system. The entire focus is on the core loop. Institution creates and mints the certificate, students receive it, employer verifies it, and everything else is phase two. Now, our third example addresses a fundamental challenge of collective human organization. How do you make group decision fairly, transparently, and in a way that everyone can trust? Traditional voting systems, even digital ones, have a trust problem. The results are only trustworthy as the organization counting the votes. Results can be disputed, manipulated, or simply not believed by losing sight. And in decentralized communities, crypto DAOs, community organizations, student cooperatives, there's often no central authority that everyone agrees to trust. So how do you make decisions that everyone accepts? The target user is community organizations, students, clubs, cooperatives, and crypto DAOs, groups that need to make collective decisions and where the integrity of the voting process is essential to the community's cohesion, okay? The core point is that group decisions are constantly disputed. Voting processes are opaque. Nobody can verify how votes were counted. Results are sometimes manipulated, and even when the process is honest, people don't believe it. The solution is token-gated voting, where each vote is recorded on-chain. Because we all know here that the blockchain is public and immutable, so anyone can verify exactly who voted, what they voted for, and what final tally was. No single party controls the count. No result can be changed after the fact. Okay, the record is permanent. Now, the 5 MVP features. First, the admin creates a proposal with options because governance always starts with a question. Second, token-gated access control. Only community members who hold the governance token can vote, ensuring legitimacy. Third, cast vote recorded on-chain. The immutable verifiable vote record, which is the entire reason this product exists. Fourth, a live vote count with a progress bar. real-time transparency, so everyone can watch the vote unfold. And fifth, a results dashboard with voter breakdown. Okay, post-vote analysis that shows exactly how the community decided and who participated. Again, guys, 5 features. No calculations, no delegation, no multi-sig execution of past proposals. All of that comes in phase 2. As I said, the MVP proved that on-chain voting works, that people trust it, and that the community finds value in it. Now we have arrived at a moment where all of this learning during the session gets applied. Right now, by you to your own product idea. This is the workshop component of our session. And I want you to take it seriously because what you produce in the next 15 minutes is not just a class exercise, okay? It is literally the foundation of your competition submission, okay? The product concept canvas has 8 fields, and I'm going to walk you through each one with the same level of seriousness I'd bring if we were sitting together in a startup accelerator, okay? So, number 1, we have product name. So you gotta give your product a memorable, clear name, not a placeholder, not my dApp, for example, a real name that would be comfortable putting on a pitch deck. The name should hint at what the product does or what it serves. Good names are short, pronounceable, and sticky in the memory. 1-line description. Fill in this template, for example, product helps specific user to solve specific problem using Web3 technology. Every word of this sentence has to earn its place. If you can't complete this sentence clearly and specifically, you don't yet have a clear enough product vision. Work on this until it's tight, okay? After that, we have target user. Who specifically are you building for? Give me a role, location, a tech level. Young professionals is not specific enough. A 28-year-old developer freelance in Nairobi who gets paid in USDC but needs to pay rent in local currency, that's specific. So the more specific you are, the better your design decision will be. 4, core problem. What specific pain does your product solve? Why does it matter? I need to feel the urgency of this problem when I read your answer. If the problem doesn't feel urgent, nobody will use your product. Trust me, guys. 5, why Web3? This is where we reference back to slide 11, which 2 or more of the 5 diagnostic questions did you answer yes to, okay? Write them down. If you can't name at least 2 genuine reasons why Web3 is the right approach of your specific product, go back and reconsider, okay? After that, we have MVP feature 1, 2, and 3. Your absolute must-have features. These are the non-negotiables, the features without which your product cannot function at all. Apply the Masco framework ruthlessly. Label each one as must-have or should have. You should be able to justify each feature but by pointing to the core user problem it solves, okay? So take your time, be specific, be concise, and be brutally honest with yourself. The canvas you complete today is your competition submission starter. So don't leave any field blank, please, okay? All right, guys, so we've covered an enormous amount of ground in the session, and I want to bring it all together with 5 key takeaways that I want you to carry with you, okay? Not just for this session, but for your entire career as a Web3 product builder. First, start with the user, not the technology. This is the cardinal rule of product development, and it's violated every single day in the Web3 space. Technology is a tool. It exists to solve human problems. Before you think about which blockchain to use, before you think about tokenomics, before you think about smart contracts, you must know with extreme specifically who are you building for and what pain they are experiencing, okay? The technology choices follow from the user needs, never the other way around, okay? Always keep that in mind, guys. Second, MVP equals 3 to 5 features that solve one core problem. Use the Moscow to cut ruthlessly and ship fast. The biggest mistake early stage builders make is scope creep. Adding features because they seem cool, because a user mentioned once, because a competitor has it. Your MVP is not supposed to be a complete product. You need to understand that. It's supposed to be the smallest possible thing that delivers genuine value to a specific user. Cut everything that isn't essential. You can always add more later. You cannot easily take away complexity once users expect it. Third, make it tangible with Figma, wireframes, Notion docs, and user flow diagrams. Before writing a single line of code, I cannot stress this enough. Code is expensive to write and expensive to change. So, Figma is free to iterate. Sorry, guys. Notion is free to update. A flowchart takes minutes to redraw. The more thinking and designing you do before you open your code editor, the faster and cheaper your actual development would be, okay? So visualize this first, build second, okay? Fourth, only use Web3 where it adds genuine value. Trustless exchange, verifiable ownership, radical transparency. These are the real strengths of blockchain technology. If your product doesn't genuinely need any of these properties, use a traditional tech stack and build a great product. The blockchain space needs quality products that solve real world problems, not blockchain flavored versions of things that work perfectly well without it. And fifth, your product concept Canva is your competition submission starter, okay? The work you did in that workshop, refine it, validate it by taking to real potential users and build it, okay? Don't let it sit in a notebook. The only way to know if your idea is good or not is to put it in front of real people and watch what they do with it, okay? Now, you can go build your concept, submit it for a competition, for example, and remember that every product in the world started as a rough idea on a canvas like the one I just showed you, okay? The difference between the ideas that becomes products and the idea that start and stay dreams is execution. So go and execute, please. I'm going now to open the floor for questions. So whether you're stuck with your persona or struggling to cut down your feature list, let's talk about it. So the stage is yours, guys. Dar blockchain community. I want to hear you. I want to hear what's on your mind, guys. Okay. So who have a question here? Okay, I see that someone is raising his hand. I don't know why I couldn't bring you on stage, Sukuna. Sure thing, yeah. Maidara is writing a question. Meanwhile, the others, do you have any question? I see that we have like 15 in the audience. Godswill, Sneh, Lobalo, Young25, Vicky, Dautek. Yeah. And I'll also share with you the presentation file. Yeah, for sure. I'll share it in the general chat just after finishing, okay? Thank you, Godswill. You always send cool emojis. That's great. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much. Okay, so I believe no more questions. Let's wait and see what Sneh is writing. No question on my end. Grateful for the insight. Okay, so very good, guys. Thank you very much for being here. I really love the energy you brought to the session. I really hope that it was insightful. So just because we're wrapping up the voice portion of today's talk doesn't mean that the learning has to stop here. I'll be hanging out in the general chat channel. I'll share with you the presentation, and I hope that the conversation will still be going there. And of course, for those who want to dive even deeper into Web3 world with me throughout the week, you can follow us on X, okay? I'll drop the link of our X account. Just a second. You can find it here in the events save chat. And the real highlights, guys, for X is every Wednesday, where I animate and host live Web3 educational space. We bring on industry experts, tackle the latest ecosystem shifts and trends, and break down complex topics in real time. It's really the perfect way to stay sharp and keep your momentum high between our sessions here in Discord and X, okay? So thank you again, everyone. Thank you, Amin, for co-hosting the session with me. Your focus, your passion, guys, for Web3 is really amazing. Keep building, keep simplifying, and I'll see you in the general chat and in our next Discord or X Space session, okay? Have a fantastic rest of the day, guys. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.